So this standard is ARCH.7.NS.A.1.7.2c. The learning target is I can add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers. Define integer. Any whole number that includes negative numbers, positive numbers, and the number 0. So remember, positive numbers to the right of 0 are called counting numbers. Numbers that include 0 and to the right are called whole numbers. And all these numbers, counting, whole, and the negative numbers, are the definition of integer. So remember, an integer or a whole number may also be written as that number divided by 1. For example, 15 can be written as 15 over 1. Negative 22 can be written as negative 22 over 1. Now we're learning how to add integers. We're going to use a strategy called algebraic addition. The way you use it is as follows. You combine the positive numbers, you combine the negative numbers, and then find the sum. So for example, negative 3 plus 2 minus 5 can be rewritten as put a plus sign and put the negative 3 in parentheses. Put another plus sign for the positive 2. Put a plus sign and put the negative 5 in parentheses. Now it is an addition problem. We want to see how to combine. We do this. I rewrote the problem here. You want to create two columns. This column has all the positive numbers. This column has all the negative numbers, and they all get added together. But first, the positive numbers, well, there's only one, that's a positive 2. The negative numbers get added together, 3 plus 5 equals 8, and you carry down the negative sign. Remember, the first number is the starting point. So we have a positive 2 minus 8. We're combining those. So I have a negative 6, but let's look at the number line. So the first number is the starting point. You start at 2, and it says remove 8. Take away is move to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Positive 2, take away 8. Your solution is negative 6, and that's correct. When you go to subtract integers, it can mean moving left or right on the number line. Let me explain. As always, the first number is the starting point. So if you have 2 minus 3, you start with 2 and you take away 3 and you get to negative 1. But what happens when you have 2 minus a negative 3? Now you have 2 minus signs, 2 negative signs, which actually means you're going to move to the right. It's not subtraction anymore. It's subtracting a negative, which means adding. So you go to the right. So your starting point is 2, and you add 3. 1, 2, 3, and the solution is 5. With this one, we start with a negative 2. Up here we start with a positive 2. When you start with a negative 2, the first number being your starting point, remember 1 minus sign means to go left. So we go left 3 places, 1, 2, 3. And the solution is negative 5. So negative 2 minus 3 equals negative 5. And finally, we have a negative 2 minus a negative 3. So now we do start at negative 2, but then 2 minus signs means to go right, or in a sense we're adding. So minus 2, add 3, or go right 3, 1, 2, 3, and your solution is 1. So let us move on to multiplying integers. When multiplying integers, positive is a plus sign or no sign at all. Sometimes you will see just a 3, and that signifies a positive 3. A negative is always going to have a minus sign or a negative sign. When you multiply integers, if you're multiplying a positive number times a negative number, your solution will be negative. Remember, the parentheses means multiply. So if we're multiplying a negative number times a negative number, you will get a positive answer. If you multiply three negatives, you will get a negative answer. If you multiply 4 negatives, you will get a positive answer. So this algorithm continues to toggle. That means as numbers are multiplied together, you must count how many negative numbers you have. This is 1 negative sign. This is 3 negative signs. If you have an odd number of negative numbers, your solution will have a negative sign. If you have, let's see here. Okay, let's move on. There are 3 negatives in this problem. Negative 2 times negative 4 times negative 3. Your solution will be negative. If you have 5 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative signs in the problem, your solution will have a negative sign in the answer. If you have 4 negative signs, 1, 2, 3, 4 in your problem, your solution will be a positive answer. You could have a problem that has 3 negative signs and 1 positive sign. What does that mean? It still means, since you have 3 negatives in the problem, your solution will be negative. So 1 times 2 is 2, times 3 is 6, times 2 is 12. But your solution will be negative because you have 3 negatives in the problem. Let's move on to dividing integers. When dividing integers, follow the same strategy as when multiplying. So when you're dividing, you follow the same strategy as when multiplying. For example, a negative 24 divided by a negative 6 equals 4, because 2 negatives to begin with yields a positive. 2 negatives yields a positive. In multiplication, it's the same strategy as division. Another example, 24 divided by negative 6 equals negative 4. 1 negative to begin with yields a negative 4. 1 negative in the problem yields a negative solution. Also remember, when dividing integers, a negative 24 over 6, or a 24 over a negative 6, or a negative out front of a 24 over 6, all 3 represent the same value. And that concludes this lesson.